Welcome to Book Club! Aces, thank you so much for the 10 biddies. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. From Blood and Ash is a romantic fantasy by American author Jennifer L. Armentrout. Published in March of 2020, From Blood and Ash is the first installment of her From Blood and Ash series. Armentrout has also published a series of prequels to the Blood and Ash series. From Blood and Ash was well received, winning the Goodreads Choice Award for Best Romance and gaining popularity among the book talk community. The story follows Penelope Balfour, the maiden who is destined on her 19th birthday to ascend as a gift to the gods, becoming part of the elite royalty that rules the kingdom. From Blood and Ash depicts the power of self-exploration and the importance of autonomy and individualism. Armentrout exposes the potential pitfalls of a society dominated by a single ruling class who uses fear to control the populace. So first off, I like to start it with this. Out of 5 stars, what did you rate the book? Now, since we had this selected for Violet's Favorites Month, you know it's one of my favorites. So I have myself rated it 10 out of 5 stars. I read this. I read ACOTAR, then Fourth Wing, then Serpent in the Wings of Night. So this was like a really good time for me coming into this. I loved it. I ate it up. I ate it up. So it's one of my favorites. I say 10 out of 5 stars. Lala, thank you. Hi, Gardevoir. Good morning. How you doing? We'll see you in a bit. No worries. Jerry, you loved it. Alex, you didn't love it. That's okay. I'm dying to hear your opinions on these questions. I'm dying. You fell in love with the book. I feel you. I feel you on that. This was the first book you recommended to me, did I? Because to me, it was popular when it came out, but I don't feel like people talk about it anymore because of the other books in the series. And I'm trying to say this unbiased. I still think it's worth reading the rest of the series. I'm on book 3 of the main series, not the prequels. I haven't read those. I've heard great things about the prequels. But this main series kind of gets off the rails a little bit. And let me just say, it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. And some things come out of left field and you're like, what? And you're not really prepared for it. But I still think it's worth following. At the very least, I still think this novel is worth it to read, even if you don't continue the series. Hi, Lornick. How are you? You read it before. You reread it for book club, but you rated it 3.2 stars. Did your rating change during your reread, or was it the same for you then? You're scared you're about to start too. You struggled through the first half, but you enjoyed it overall. Should you read book 2? Yes. Yes. Book 3? Maybe. I will say the pacing is a lot slower for book 2. So just keep that in mind. So going off after all of these ratings, would you recommend this book to somebody? Why or why not? And what kind of reader would enjoy this book? So I obviously recommended it to y'all. I think the type of reader that would most enjoy this book is somebody who loves a good mixture of fantasy and romance. This book, compared to other romanticises that we've read in the past, this is so hard for me because while it is true that the story would slightly fall apart without the romance aspect of Penelope and Hawk, I don't think it would completely disintegrate. Armentrout's world building and plots are very tight. compared to Fourth Wing, compared to Akatar, compared to Serpent and the Wings of Night. So I think that somebody who prefers more extensive fantasy would enjoy this book a lot more. So should I? I'm scared. Don't be. Hi, T. You're on to book 2. Yes. Amazing. I'm intrigued and I like the direction. I just think a slower pace might be good. I'm not a romance reader, but it hooked me in a way they don't. It would be a good introduction to the genre. Yes. I think the other books are a little bit more approachable, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But again, the world building is so tight in this first novel. And it's not quite as spoon-fed as some of the other books. And I would say it's on the faster side of pacing, but not like Fourth Wing. But you want to keep reading because you keep finding out more and more things. You know? What's going on with the Ascension? What is happening here? Oh my god, what are Craven? Okay, they're kind of similar to zombies. Wait a minute, there's werewolves in here too? What are the things they know and don't know? What are the special powers and the training that Poppy has? Ariel, you would say you wouldn't recommend it. You're coming from full fantasy, so it feels like not enough fantasy or romance either way. Okay. What does world building being tight in comparison to Fourth Wing mean? Fourth Wing, when you are just starting off in the story, they're giving you a lot of information. I would say the first chapter or two is similar to fantasy where you're just being dropped in, but it's not hard to figure out what's going on, where I feel like it took me a little bit longer to get my bearings in the From Blood and Ash world. You know? Okay, what are the politics that's going on? Where does Penelope fit into this? What are the dynamics? What are the class systems? What are the fantasy elements? What are the magic systems? Whereas Fourth Wing was like, okay, they're at a dragon school. Do you understand what I mean? There was more layers in this book. You want to see the homeland? Actually, I thought the world building was one of the weaker books. Like, in and of itself, I liked it, but the way it was introduced, hated it. I also understand that a lot being told was a lie, but that lore dump by Hawk towards the end was so jarring compared to how we got info about the world beforehand. Do you think it would have been different if it was third person versus first person? Because I think that part of it didn't bother me since we're learning things how Poppy is learning them. And I want them to be married. You could also clock plot points ahead of time. You like the pace. I like the pace a lot too. Yeah. Scattered, you're welcome. And obviously, like, please continue to ask questions. You like Hawk low-key in that he's dark? So now that we're on the topic, did you find the author's writing style easy to read or hard to read? Why? And how long did it take you to get into the book? So I found it harder than other romanticises, but not difficult. As I mentioned, I got my bearings in the first few chapters, though there was more stuff to understand. I took more notes for this book versus one of the other books that we've read. And I liked that aspect. I feel like I had to use my brain a little bit more. Hannah, we love you. Happy Feral Friday. You didn't think it was jarring. You felt like there were small hints at some things before that were not true. Gotcha. No complaints? No? Let me be honest, I can clock a lot because I read a lot and there's only so many ways to spin a story, if that makes sense. I try to dig into personality and the character tropes for sure. Yeah. I get it. You're picking up plot devices before any sort of twist. So sometimes you might be able to pick it out versus somebody else. I get that. I found it easy. Like I said in Discord, I read it in 6 hours where others are more 10 or 12. So you really got sucked in. Alex, I do get that Poppy's just learning about it. But I feel like for the reader, there was just some points where it would have been better to leave her point of view a bit, just for context. Like how her magic was only explained at the very end really bothered me. Especially because she seemed to be the only person with magic powers, so it made her feel a bit Mary Sue without explanation. Okay. Understood. You wanted more clarification, maybe more exposition prior to that point. That's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Who was your favorite character? What character did you identify with the most? Were there any characters that you disliked? So, I love Poppy. Poppy is one of my favorite character arcs that I've ever read in literature. Obviously, it has to do with the theme of self-exploration. Poppy seeking small ways to temporarily escape her restrictive role as the maiden and then making decisions for herself and her bodily autonomy. I feel like that was so strong, and I absolutely loved her. And the character that I hated the most, which is, wow, gonna be a total shock to y'all, is the Duke. And I love what happened to him. Hi, Becky! You love the book and you're gonna continue the series. I also think the info dump about what actually is happening with the ritual and the royals could be intentional because she and all the others believe this is such a great and magical thing. Right! It's the control of the religious aspect. You loved Hawk and Victor. Me too! Me too! I was so sad about Victor. I openly sobbed. Yes, Tawny! Because she surprised you. She seemed like a genuine friend despite being ordered to be there. She and Poppy had a great relationship, a great friendship. Like, truly loved each other. Victor, Tawny. You really liked Victor. Sad to see his character wasn't further explored. Me too. It makes sense by the time you hit the end of the story and as you continue the series. I understand why they wrote him out. And I don't think that Poppy would have been able to grow and fully make her own decisions without him dying. As much as I loved Victor, he definitely felt like a plot device overall. So I understand the need for him to die, but it was still sad. It was still sad. Because he really protected her and treated her like his daughter. Obviously hated the Duke. Him dying was my favorite part. Me too. Lord Mazine. Yup. Yup. A goddamn bully. To both Penelope and her brother Ian. The Lord still held a grudge over a lost card game to the sibling years ago. And I loved it when she was like having a frenzy and decapitated him. Like, he deserved it. He deserved it. You hated Lord Mazine more, but you're happy that he died, yeah. Vengeance with him, yep. Yep. It made Victor dying a bit less hard, yeah. You hated Mazine the most. It's one thing to be abusive like the Duke, it's another to be slimy and constantly reminding someone of said torture, yeah. I hate myself the most. Now, wait a minute. Poppy's revenge. His death was really sad. The Duke and the Lord dying were just desserts. Victor was like, Liam, for you, you openly sobbed. All the characters felt like plot devices for Poppy, which made it hard to care for them for you. Big part that bothered you was whenever somebody died, she was over in like 2 seconds and going back to simping. I think for novels that are fast-paced, I can see that, and I think I'm just so used to that. Even in, God, I don't know if anybody in here has watched like a scary movie in a really long time, like the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original Scream, where it's like, oh my God, they died? Well, oh, that's sad. Anyway, I get it. And I think sometimes, like you, that can kind of like not only irritate me, but pull me out of a story. But for whatever reason, that didn't bother me here. And I think it's because I was so getting ready to get to the next plot point that not having the time to sit and mull it over was okay for me. You identify with a few things, and Poppy trying to find herself and find her purpose in life for herself. It's part why you feel like there were some things were hinted at. His anger over the card game was off, and the way he tortured her seemed like he was hungry. Yes, big time. So when they revealed they were all vampires, I was like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I mean, they were already evil enough, so to paint them as like the ultimate villain, right? Like something else nefarious behind, like beneath the surface, I wasn't surprised. I was not surprised at that. How much did you know about this book before picking it up? I think a lot of you already knew it was like a romantasy, but were you expecting vampires, werewolves, and zombies? Were you expecting, the character arcs? Were you expecting something else? When I was going into it myself, I knew that this was like a highly praised romantasy. I was not expecting those aspects, but I really liked those aspects myself. You've heard some of the criticisms, but you were not expecting the supernatural elements. Yes. Yes, especially the vampire thing. Right. Yeah. The other books that I read on that stuff, I already knew like, oh, this is, has to do with vampires and werewolves going into it or something, but I didn't know for this one. You knew absolutely nothing about it except for the genre, so the vampires, werewolves, and zombies indeed took you out for a second. And Rice would like this. I knew nothing about the book. I will say the moment they explained Atlantean, I clocked Hawk immediately. You did. Now, I will say that I feel like I can tell where things are going. That took me by complete surprise. I had thought that he worked for the prince. I didn't think it was him. From your point of view, what were the central themes of the book? Jerry! Sorry, I have to switch to another page. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. I wrote way too much. Dear God. Somebody needs to take a keyboard away from me. So for me, the themes, I had said self-exploration and character growth, specifically for Penelope. Her desire to live her own life before she's given to the gods prompts Penelope to engage with Hawk more than the maiden should. Back in her life as the maiden, Victor provides Penelope an outlet to express herself. She comes to know her own nature through gaining an understanding of her gift. By the end of the novel, Penelope makes the decision to be with Hawk and not to ascend. She realizes that she has slowly been reclaiming her life, and it had started long before him, page 384. Her growth closely parallels a coming-of-age character arc wherein the character questions her beliefs, struggles with alternative beliefs as we see her in her attempt to kill Hawk, and finally identifies herself as changed. The other themes I had down is religion as a means for control and the equalizing nature of death. What about y'all? Jerry, you didn't know anything. You went in blind. Thought maybe there could be. The moment he was like, oh, I'm sure you don't know the village I'm from, you're like, you're hiding something. I thought there was something with him, but not until the Duke was killed, and how I definitely thought, oh yeah, he did it. Yeah, I thought that he killed the Duke because it happened so closely after Poppy shared what was going on. So I thought he did that, but I still didn't think, anything of it. I was like, oh, that's really nice. He killed the Duke. That's awesome. Bye. Fluttered out of my head. You think so, Ariel? Yeah? Definitely wanting character growth, but also fighting a gilded cage. Yes, feeling trapped. Absolutely. And Victor was somebody that was kind of getting her out of her cage, but still in a different type of cage for helping people. And Hawk was the one that was really like making her think about things, though we found out at the end. Was he, or was it for nefarious purposes? I think it was because he actually does genuinely love her. I also started thinking about how his eyes were compared to others. Yes. Upon my additional readings, you get that from the first moment. The first moment about his eyes. So, Armentrout really did great at making some breadcrumbs in there. I hate that he doesn't say he loves her, though. True. I do really like the aspect of her trying to build her own life, but I feel like Hawk doesn't fit for Endgame. Like how he was also manipulating her. Temporarily, he could also serve for her growth, but in the end, I would love for her to be independent from him as well and really build her own life. There is so much that I wish I could say, Alex. I will just say that I agree with you. And we get more down the line. Not in this book, but we get more down the line. But great feedback. I think this would greatly help the situation. Yeah, there's the coming of age, questioning spiritual education during formative years, acknowledging they become a different person. Also, the victors write history teaming through the book. Yeah. All right. Getting book two. Let's go through the characters. So we love Penelope. Penelope's scars, which we haven't touched upon yet, they define her, and her body functions as a record of her life. She has scars from the Duke's abuse and from the night her parents died, when she survived the bite of a craven. The left side of her face is covered with scars, whereas the right resembles her beautiful mother. The outer duality of Penelope's face is the physical manifestation of her inner turmoil. A symbol and motif. The bloodstone dagger is her favorite weapon, a gift from Victor. It allows Penelope to feel strong and independent and allows Penelope to take her safety into her own hands. As Penelope's relationship with Hawk progresses, so does her sense of liberation. Penelope's strongest character trait is empathy, which manifests in her special gift to feel the pain of others. She hopes to one day use her powers to help people. Penelope possesses a rebellious streak and is stubborn to a fault. She cares deeply for her loved ones and would put her life on the line to save them. She values feeling strong and despises situations where she is helpless. She desires a true love like the one her parents shared. At the end of the novel, we learn that she is half Atlantean. How did you feel about Poppy as a character? Did you like reading the novel through her eyes? She really just went from one cage to another. I would feel that their relationship might not survive without addressing that manipulation, especially considering he was her first everything. Definitely. And as I mentioned before, without sharing any spoilers, everything that y'all are talking about now, we do find out in other books. So if that's something that interests you and you want to continue the series, pick up book 2. Pick up book 2 for sure. I love her empathy too. She's so unlike a lot of the people in the palace where she genuinely cares about other people and she doesn't want anybody to suffer. And even in one of her reactions with Hawk, she takes his pain away and he's just stunned at her for that because he was going into this whole situation thinking that, you know, she was going to be very different than the Poppy that he met. I truly did because I see her perspective and it's always helpful to the reader to kind of be thrown in with the main character. Yeah, I really liked first person. I did. Would you have enjoyed seeing other point of view from other characters? Sometimes we get this in books, whether it's dual points of view, like with Serpent and the Wings of Night. You might see this occasionally in other books, like specifically with Onyx Storm, which is the third book in the Empyrean series, the Fourth Wing. I think it would have been kind of cool to have a couple of chapters from Hawke's point of view to really understand his motivations. But, like I said, you get resolution in the later novels. I did really like her overall, but you weren't a fan of her being the only one with magic as far as you knew. And how she was such an unreasonably strong fighter, barely struggling, even going up against people like Myzine. Yeah. I think in the novel, something that I didn't really clock, and that's a great point, is I just figured at the time, like, oh, well, you know, Victor was training her, so she was stronger than other people because of him. But in actuality, it was because she was half Atlantean. You just wanted her in the first reading. Serpent in the Wings of Night scratches your darkness. It's so good. I know, it's so good. It's so good. I think it could have been interesting to have her point of view for the first half and then get more of Hawke in the second half once the big lore dump happened. Yeah, and the big reveal. Yeah. Dual perspective is newer in the genre from what you've seen. No, you feel like the intrigue of the book is that most of the people seem to be in the know except Penelope, despite her important role. Okay, I like that. But, like, I want them, after knowing it all, as a companion piece. Yeah, definitely. Let's talk now about Hawke Flynn, a.k.a. Prince Castile Danier. Prince Castile is in a constant state of anguish over the enslavement of his brother, an anguish that feels like chips of sharp ice. It's his desire to save Malik that initially facilitates his relationship with Penelope. He cares very little for the laws and gods of the Ascended. He has no concerns whatsoever for Poppy's title, which forbids her from forming any level of familiarity with others. Despite his physical perfection, Prince Castile does possess character flaws. He is a paragon of sexuality. While he does sexually liberate Penelope, he's aware that his sexual desires often get the best of him. He is aware of his limitations, and he knows that his need for Penelope is far too great. Prince Castile is a little slut. He's promiscuous and incredibly flirtatious by nature. He allows Penelope to be intimate with him despite knowing that he will soon use her as ransom for his brother. Let's talk about it for a second. What did you think about that? Were you as hurt as Penelope when you found out? Because you're just like, oh my God, he's taken so much from her. Like, he's already duped her. And now he's duped her for something that she's held so great and near. And like the pinnacle of what being a maiden was supposed to be. What did you think? You're not too far off. Yeah, absolutely. The Caged Mountain Cat. Yep. I was hurt even if I saw it coming. She thinks she's free in this choice and choosing her own life, but she wasn't. You were pissed at reading it? Yeah, it was never a choice. I get this as a romance, but IRL, that would be red flags. It was unnecessary pain. Absolutely. I mean, you could say that about most romance novels, whether it's lighthearted or dark-hearted, that if you were to put it into IRL, you know, with like a pretty little picture, a pretty little face, a lot of people wouldn't be acting that way. Hi, Nathan. Until he took advantage of her at the end. Killed the character for you. Yeah, the bath scene with the guy Kieran and him not getting mad. Interesting take. Let's talk about Kieran. Kieran is a wolven werewolf, previously believed to be extinct for the species. He entered Castle Tierman under the guise of a royal guard and is appointed to escort Penelope to the capital. He is dedicated to serving Prince Castile Denier. Penelope assumes that Castile and Kieran have formed a sacred bond with one another. Confident that a prince was of the class that Wolven would be bonded to, page 477. When in Wolven form, Kieran is vastly stronger and faster than any mortal. Did you like Kieran? Hi, Trish. Welcome back. Is one you've been considering? I think a lot of us in here would suggest you to read it. I know I still would. Listen. If he truly trusted her, he should have told her. He had proof. Then he could have let her truly choose. I think it would have been so much better for their love. And you're going to be seeing the fallout from that in book 2. You just found that odd? I want her to have a choice, but I don't think she'd believe. Not at this point, yeah. You like how ride or die he is? Their relationship feels kind of sexual. I don't know. You're just going to have to read on. You're going to have to read on. Who else have we not touched upon yet? The Duchess Tierman of Macedonia. Eloquent and sophisticated, the Duchess Tierman rules with a softer hand than her husband. When she speaks, she sounded like someone who'd never raised their voice or hand in anger, page 129. Despite offering some refuge for Penelope while at the Castle Tierman, she is still complacent in the abuse and the crimes of Kingdom Solace. It's alluded that the Duke abuses the Duchess as well, prompting Penelope to conclude that being an Ascended didn't mean she held power over her husband, page 233. The Duchess is an intelligent woman with a calm demeanor. Her ruthless nature shines forth in her lack of sympathy over the death of the Duke and Lord Mazim. Well, now I'm you're going to have to read it and talk about it with me, obviously. Like, he wouldn't even want to touch her is what you feel. Okay. He's a puppy dog. He's obsessed. Good boy. What did y'all think about the Duchess? As I stated, this was a very tricky situation because I think she honestly wanted to help Poppy, but that she was going through her own abuse with the Duke and just another woman in the cage of a man. It's another big theme that we've been seeing throughout the novel. You never liked the Duchess? I felt that she was just ruthless and just paired with a bigger bully. Okay. So you're saying that even with the Duke being the Duke, that she also had her own issues. I can see that. I definitely can see that. I didn't like the Duchess. She's giving evil queen to me. Difficult figure. Okay. I'm going to bring up, I had a quote in here. Give me a second. I didn't go too wild with the quotes, but there was a quote specifically from her that I would love to discuss. Where did I put it? Damn it. Where is it? Did I put it in a different section? Please hold. Damn. Sorry, I have like 20 pages of stuff right now, and I can't find where I put it. It's not in the quote section. I think I was supposed to ask it someplace else. Anyway, you're not going to read the other books, Alex? No? If you're interested, you could still go on to like Goodreads and maybe, get like a plot summary. If you just want to see like resolution of a couple of things. I totally understand that. Hi, Shan. How are you? She's evil in a different way from other Ascended, yeah. Even with the Duke being the Duke, she was a bit callous over the treatment of Poppy, even while being callous over the Duke's death. She'd have been redeemed in my eyes if she'd expressed more pity or sorrow. I totally get that. I totally get that. I'm so upset that I can't find this quote that I pulled out. It was such a good quote. I'll paraphrase it here. Basically, one of the things that the Duchess says to her, and I can't remember if this is before or after the Duke dies, but basically talking about, like, sometimes you don't want to know the whole truth because it makes things worse. And that should have been, like, a big red flag there, that the Duchess was fully aware of a lot of things going on as part of the Ascension, as part of the Duke, and the way that she says this to Poppy, it's almost saying to her, don't open up the can of worms because you're going to find out way more than you're ready for and ready to handle. Done with chores for the day? Hell yeah. The wiki for something? No, seriously, do it. Yeah. I also flash back to the way she guilt-tripped the family into giving up their child knowing the entire truth. Exactly. Guilt-tripped the family just to give up the son who was going to be used as a snack. You sent to die. Sent to die. I actually have the father in here as one of the characters, Mr. Tulis. He begins the novel as a citizen of Kingdom Solace. He and his wife petition the court to absolve their third son from partaking in the rite. They are denied their request, and Penelope senses their hardship. Determined to keep their son, the couple seek help from the dissenters and escape to New Haven. Overcome with anger towards his kingdom, Mr. Tulis seeks to murder Penelope along with a group led by Jericho. He is bitter towards the Ascended and views Penelope as their whole future, page 442. Mr. Tulis lands his dagger in Penelope's side, but his victory is short-lived. Prince Castile murders Mr. Tulis for harming Penelope, and Penelope finds his story tragic. Mr. Tulis represents the average citizen who suffered from the effects of a war he did not start. Through his death, Penelope realizes Prince Castile's ruthless ways. What did you think about Mr. Tulis as a character? Did you understand him? I can understand how he threw Penelope into everything. I mean, she's the maiden. Like, she's part of the whole thing. And I was really upset when Hawk, Prince Castile, murders him. Like, he is emotionally angry. His whole family has been torn apart because of this kingdom. Because of everything that they've done. They had no regard for him or the lives of his sons, everybody that's been lost, because it's just how it is. Thank you so much, Ariel. Some truths do nothing but destroy and decay what they do not obliterate. Truths do not always set one free. Only a fool who has spent their entire life being fed lies believes that. Thank you so much. Senseless violence, but it was needed for the reader. When you're desperate and don't have an option, it's understandable. Like, Hawk gave him the chance to live, and then he killed him. I can say as an outsider, it's hard to truly believe the maiden has no knowledge of what's really happening. Right, exactly. Because you believe people in power actually have power, and they have that knowledge, and they're complicit. So I thought that was kind of a different take on things, and how we see a lot of other stories set up, and especially comparing to modern events. I thought that was really, really interesting. Okay, I have a couple more things for you. We kind of touched upon this before, but I'm going to ask you it in a full question now. Was From Blood and Ash satisfying as a romance story? Have you read other works of romantic fantasy, such as Fourth Wing or A Court of Thorns and Roses? How does this one compare for the romance? What do you think? As I mentioned before, it's hard for me to classify this at the end of the first novel as a romantasy, because I still feel like the rest of the story holds up really, really well without the romantic connection. With that being said, I did like the romance. I was gutted along with Poppy. I liked seeing their relationship play out, even if it was things that I wasn't necessarily like rooting for. I really did enjoy it. I really did enjoy it. But also there's a thin line between justice and revenge. I think he crossed that line when he tried to have her butchered. He already got out with his kid. Right. Or even real life, people don't know, but anger will still happen. Absolutely. The normal human emotions sometimes, for some of us, we feed into that too much. We get hooked. I'm with you as far as the first novel for right now. You could have done without it, really, Taria. Okay. The betrayal she felt cut me too. You're not a romance reader. It felt fantasy. Okay. Not for you. You feel like the romance isn't real when there's such a huge power knowledge imbalance in the couple. Oh, okay. So you felt like it was more, I don't want to put words in, Casey, but you felt like it was more manufactured, fake, maybe like too much of a plot device? As a romance, you don't think so. At the end, you absolutely did not want them together. You were like, girl, run! You didn't realize it was so exciting. Oh, yes, I probably should have mentioned that, Jerry. That's my bad. Yeah. In terms of spicy peppers, this is gonna depend on each person, but like it's pretty explicit. I would say like 3 to 4 peppers without it being like an actual like erotic novel where the spiciness is at the forefront and like the plot is secondary. Okay, it's pretty spicy. It's spicier than A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I would say it's spicier for Fourth Wing only because this novel has more spicy scenes compared to Fourth Wing. But the spice of those scenes is the same. Does that make sense? Like, this has more of those scenes, but the scenes are at the same level. Okay? As a romance, it doesn't quite hit the romance points you'd like to see. You compare it to Shield of Sparrows. Okay, and it just feels like a ton of lust. Okay. Did you like Shield of Sparrows, by the way? It's on my list. Enough romance for you? Okay. No, T, you're so fine. Becky, hi! You like the romance, but you feel the romance between the FMC and MMC and Shield of Sparrows is better. Okay, a second recommendation. Okay. More lust than romance. Okay, it always kills it for you. It'll do it, but you just didn't expect it. Jerry was like, oh my God, what's going on here? More spicy than Fourth Wing and Akatar, you would say? Would I put an erotic novel at 5 peppers? Yes. Like, what's the one? Katie something. Katie Roberts. Oh my God. Katie Roberts writes erotic novels. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a prude by any means. But for me, my preferred novel, you know, if there's going to be spice, I want at least 50 to 75% plot. The other part can be the spice. Katie Roberts, it's like 10% plot. Okay? Jerry, like you were clutching your pearls. What was the one that I read from her? And I was like, okay, I'm not reading another one from her. Just give me a second. I want to try and share the book. Because maybe one of you in here wants to read it. Again, this is a judgment-free zone, baby. Katie Roberts. Damn it. No, it's not. Not Neon Gods. Court of the Vampire Queen. Like, we're just meeting the characters. I'm like 10 pages in, and there's already stuff happening on the floor. And I was like, Jesus Christ, buy me a drink first. Like, ease me into it. I wasn't ready. You know? Everybody's dropping pants and getting naked and doing the nasty. And I was like, it is 9 a.m. on a Saturday for me. I haven't even had coffee yet. It was too much. But again, you might be into that, so check out the book. It was a lot. Sam, hi. How are you doing? It is? Okay, I'll try and read Shield of Sparrows. I'll put that up higher for me. Yeah. Casey, not necessarily a plot device. I feel like Castiel was using the so-called romance as another tool to control. Exactly, though. Manipulation. Yes, I get that. I get that. And it's like, okay, where were his real feelings, right? Because I felt like his real feelings were shining through, but then, like, was it all a lie? Was it not? And again, the second novel addresses a lot of that. And, not in the healthiest manner. That's all I'll say. I'm being honest. Yes, it is. A lot of Katie Roberts' works are on Kindle Unlimited. I don't think I've read anything else from her. No, I'm sorry, I did. Neon Gods I did read. Neon Gods I read, but not like this. Not like this. And this one, and that's all I've got. Yeah. The writing itself isn't bad. Like, her writing is great. It's just the subject matter. I wasn't ready for it, all right? I wasn't ready for it. My face is red. Well, I mean, if you read what I read, your face would be red too. Your husband is a foot away from you. That's too funny. That is too funny. But yeah, I still think that, like, this was definitely more fantasy than romance, personally. All right, we already read all this. We already talked about Penelope. We talked about Hawk there. Anything else? All right, this is going to be my last question for you, and then if anybody else has stuff they want to talk about, feel free to add. I asked you to rate this book at the beginning of our discussion. I want you to rate the book again out of 5 stars. Did any part of this discussion change your rating from what it would have been directly after finishing the book? I myself am still at 10 stars out of 5. I don't think at this point it could budge. I have probably read this novel close to 12 to 15 times now, between rereads, between listening to graphic audio. If you haven't, please, I'm not sponsored or affiliated, but dear God, I would love to be. Pick this up on graphic audio. It's so worth it. All the voice actors, incredible. Victor's voice actor. Hawk's voice actor has a British accent. Poppy is magnificent. The action in the background during fighting scenes, just 10 out of 10. This was my second graphic audio book that I picked up after Fourth Wing. I cannot recommend it enough if you have already not listened to it. Harper Woods. Oh, really? I feel like his feelings came through, but so much of it was on his terms being in control. He didn't even ask her if she wanted to get married. Yeah, just like, okay, you're coming with me. You're going to give it 4.5 to 5 stars for you. I don't think I could change it much from there. You love the graphic audio. You might give it 1.5 stars more because there are actually parts you liked, but the parts you didn't like overshadowed it all. So fair, so fair. Also, Alex, can I just say this? For those of you that, like, didn't, let's say, those of you that gave it less than 4 stars, thank you so much for sharing your opinion. This is part of the reason I do what I do. I'm not going to like every book that I read that's popular. You're not going to like every book that we pick in here or that's popular. I'm so glad that you didn't feel like, I don't know, like we were convincing you to change or stay truthful in your opinions. It's what I love. Like stay truthful in it, you know, and if it raised like, you know, half a star or something, I'm like, that's okay. But like, I'm not expecting you to flip it to 5 stars because we talked about it. Like, I love that you didn't like it. I know that sounds weird, but I do. Sorry, I missed the ads. Shit, I hope people are still here. Are people still here? Is everybody subbed? Subbed that's talking? I think we're okay, right? Yeah. Are we good? Okay. Would you all recommend this for someone who is fine with fantasy, but it isn't usually her preferred genre? think so. Well, I don't think it's as approachable as the other romantic fantasy works that we've read. I don't know. If it's not her preferred genre, but you loved it, maybe you could say that for her. But I feel like Fourth Wing would be much more approachable if that's the case. You want people trashing it because there might be something you're missing. Right. Yeah. Last month's book was a hard one for you, and I felt comfortable to share. Thank you for giving us the space to do so. Thank you so much. I did like the discussion a lot. Everyone having a different opinion makes every discussion more interesting. Yes! I love it! And also, Alex, I don't mean to, like, highlight you for being like, I'm so glad you didn't like it, but, like, genuinely, I love that. That was kind of like me. I don't know if y'all were in the channel when we read... What's the fucking book? The fairy book. The Encyclopedia of Fairies. I didn't like it. Chat loved it. I was like, I'm sorry. And now I have to lead a discussion about it. I'm sorry. And that's okay. I didn't like it, you know? You didn't either? You didn't read that one yet? If you like cozy, slow pace, and you don't go into it thinking it's a romantic fantasy, I think you'll like it. No! Thank you, by the way. Thanks. Thank you, sweetheart. That one's on your list? Yeah. Again, I think if you like ACOTAR, you'll like that because the pacing is very similar. But it was also billed as a romantasy, and it's not. Like, the romance is like... It's hardly there. A really bad thunderstorms just rolled in. Welcome back from ads. I'm sorry. I've been a yapper. Casey, you were honestly disappointed in this one. It was a 3-star for you. You didn't know what you expected, but your relationship between Castile and Penelope just made you feel icky. You started the second one hoping it would turn around. It's going to be a DNF for you. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier that it's like, you'll see a lot of resolution in the second book of the series, but I wouldn't call it a healthy resolution. You've probably already gotten to that part, and you know what I'm talking about. And by the third book, stuff is just... It's at a point. It's definitely not a fairy tale coupling for Castile and Poppy. I'll say that. No, mine did too, Simmer. You know that. I DNF'd it twice. And ACOTAR is still not my favorite. I gave that 2.5 stars. But for me to get through that and then do Akamath is 10 stars for me. That was definitely 10 stars for me. But I haven't finished the series. Hi, Dev. You feel that way about ACOTAR, still on Akamath. They just got what they needed from the summer court, finally getting somewhat interesting, but no romance. It's also... It's, I don't want to spoil you. It's worth the payoff, but it takes a while to get to that point. Hi, Lizzie. You didn't even pay attention to the relationship? Yeah. I must be missing the thing on Akamath. I think by the time you hit the end, you'll really enjoy it. And it'll be satisfying for you. I'm trying to say it without spoiling you. What is that one? Which one? A Court of Mist and Fury. You definitely won't be. I think it'll be a good resolution for one of the plots in the series. You're so welcome. Yes. Big slow burns. And baby, I love a slow burn as much as somebody else. But they're a little bit too slow for me. A little bit too slow. Look at you swimming during the day. Were you talking about Salem? Psh, I'll get my swimsuit right now. Hi, Moon. Hi, baby. Is that the third book? A Court of Silver Flames? The orange one? You liked it, but you weren't wild about it? You know what I think it is for me? I think that I just don't like SJM's writing. And not in the same way that I don't like Allie Hazelwood's writing, but it's just like at a certain point I understand that it's like not only it's a slow burn and that these books are slow paced, but it's like you could remove half the book and you would still have a solid plot. There's too much extra stuff. And I know that people that love the books could say that it has to do with character exposition. It could have to do with other additional plot points. It has to do with world building. I get that it's there. It's just not for me. Back to the marketing conversation. And the Vampire Queen. Right. Yeah. Make you frustrated, but then other times you're fine. I think it comes down how the author does it. Yes. I'm so there with you. Chat, this was a beautiful discussion today. Thank you so much for joining me. Whether you loved the book or not, I hope it was still a nice ride for you regardless. And I hope that no matter what, you still enjoy your next read. As a reminder, oh, do you have more? Yeah, Jerry, please talk to me about it. Tell me your theory about the previous maiden. Before I forget, while I'm just thinking about it, I just want to make sure y'all know about our August book club. I have it set right now for August 25th. I have to double check that I don't have OT that day. We're going to be reading You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron. And this is our Summerween book club. I believe that this is classified as young adult. So if you don't do scares, you don't do horror or gore, you should be safe, but let me double check on that for you. But I think it's going to be a spoopy good time. I agree with you. No, I agree with you, Jerry. So I think part of the reason that things ended the way that she did is that she left to start a new life and she was attacked for it. Because she found out what was going on. So she fled from there because like the fact that the Duke had such like a close relationship with her makes me think that there was more than meets the eye. And all of those issues that we had. Exactly. Did anyone else get the feeling that the way the Duke treats Poppy is because he was spurned or something by her mother? Absolutely. Has that happened to anybody? Quick story. My science teacher in middle school hated me. I swear he had a vendetta against me. I always did well in science classes. I'm coming home crying to my mom because I'm getting 75 on tests. And I'm like, I'm studying so hard. I understand the material. What's wrong? So she goes to the first parent-teacher night. I find out he's my mom's ex. And my mom dumped his ass because he was a creep. So after I found that out, and I said to him the next day, I was like, oh, it was really nice that, like, you knew my mom. What a small world. He knew that I knew, and my grades somehow got better. Mind you, I was in the 6th fucking grade. I was a child. So, TLDR, I get that. I totally get that, and it's very realistic, and I think I agree with you, Becky. You put a hold on Libby. What's up, Riddles Kid? Thanks for the lurk. Revenge for her mother. Yup. I did, Trish! A creep would do. I know. Worthwhile dumping. Yeah. So, but anyway, great discussion points. If anybody wants to discuss this book more, feel free to do so in the Discord. You could still put it under the current read or general book talk. And obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to have discussions in the comments down below too. Thanks so much for the discussion today. Y'all are amazing. Thanks for being here. Yay!